All right, we're following breaking news. Air traffic controllers are now taking action and suing the administration. Tom Costello is following this for us in Washington. Tom, you know a fact well that not a lot of Americans know, and that is at any given time there are probably more than 9,000 airplanes over the United States carrying more than 1.2 million people. It's not a daily figure. That's a at any given time figure.
Yeah, boy, you nailed it. Not only that, 100,000 people are in the skies at any one time. 100,000 people are in the skies at any one time. Today, they are being protected by TSA officers on the ground, not getting paid, air traffic controllers watching you in the skies, and the ATC folks not getting paid. They have just filed this lawsuit. They are asking for an injunction. Specifically, they are alleging a violation of their Fifth Amendment rights, specifically the fact that they are deprived of their earned wages. Here's a statement quickly from the National Air Traffic Controllers Association. They say NATCA also alleges violations of the Fair Labor Standards Act and for failure to pay at least the minimum wage to air traffic controllers and other NATCA members who are accepted from the furloughs during the government slowdown, finally alleging that the FAA failed to promptly pay overtime to NATCA members in violation as well of the law. On behalf of the members, NATCA seeks an order requiring the government to pay its members for the work they have performed, as well as liquidated damages. We have more breaking news. This now coming from the TSA. As you know, 51,000 TSA officers working without pay. The TSA chief just sent out, his name is David Pekoski, just sent out the following notice. He says, I am committed to explore ways to compensate employees for their work and determine that legally and financially we can pay for work conducted on Saturday, December 22nd. That is before we actually had the shutdown go into effect. We are working hard to process every TSA employee who worked that day so they can get paid early next week. Let me just tell you, I've had a lot of people questioning me and asking me, what's the mood at the headquarters for these various agencies? I'll tell you, they're beside themselves. They are very upset that their employees are having to go through this. And so while you may have Trump appointees running these various administrations, they themselves are just beside themselves that they now have to secure the skies, secure the food supply, whatever the case may be, run the FBI, you name it, and yet their employees who put their lives on the line or ensure that your life is safe when you travel, that those people, their own employees, are not getting paid.
And in a minute, we're going to talk to Paul Rinaldli, the president of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association. But I'm going to ask you something, because he's not going to toot his own horn or his people's horns. This, Tom, is always ranked as one of the most stressful jobs out there, right? So it's a combination of remarkably stressful and remarkably important. There are all sorts of stressful jobs out there that don't affect the rest of the world, but the number of planes in the air, the number of people in the air, the separation of 9,000 planes at any given time falls upon people who are professionals, who work really, really hard, who get blamed every time something happens. And then you add the stress of not being able to pay bills, maybe missing a mortgage payment, ruining your credit rating, the tension that causes in your house. This is not somewhere that most Americans are going to want extra stressed people doing the job.
That's exactly right. Do you want the 13,000 controllers who are already dealing with that kind of stress to now worry, how am I going to pay my kids' piano lessons, let alone the groceries, the gas, whatever?
How am I going to
13,000
pay
air traffic controllers
for the gas in my car that I put in the tank so I could drive to work and not get paid?
Can I just make one last point?
Please.
The ripple effect beyond these folks, as I mentioned, okay, you can't pay the piano teacher for your kid, you can't pay the karate teacher, you can't pay, and now they are going to be left without that income, and the ripple effect keeps rippling.
Right, because there are 800,000 federal workers in this position, and then there are the contract workers, and all of them live and pay other people for their services. So when the back pay comes, you've missed out on paying a bunch of people once. That actually is a real hit to the economy. Tom, thank you for your great reporting on this.
It's not like they're staying home. They are going to work and doing their job and not getting paid any money to do it.
All right, joining us now is the man I mentioned, the president of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association, Paul Rinaldli. Paul, first of all, I mean, look, you guys are not people who get the rest of us appreciating what you do on a daily basis, because you do what you do well, and the rest of us take for granted that planes are separated from each other in the air and land safety without crashing into each other, thanks to air traffic controllers.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Thanks for having me on. We have to be 100% of the time, with 100% of our focus at the task at hand of separating the airplanes over the skies of the United States.
So now you guys are suing the administration. What do you hope to aim? What does success look like to you in this lawsuit?
Well, as you said on the top of the hour, our controllers are showing up to work. They're doing their job. They're working 60 hours a week with some overtime in there. They're doing everything they're supposed to do, serving the American public. And it is the United States of America, and they deserve their paycheck.
So you met earlier today with Senators Tim Kaine and Mark Warner of Virginia. Did they advise you that suing was the way to go?
We really didn't talk about the lawsuit. We were talking about the real issues and the real consequences of these real people that are either coming to work and not getting paid, spending the money, the gas money, paying for child care, paying their mortgage, paying their credit card bills. You know, as you know, January is usually the largest credit card bill you would get because of the holidays that happen in December. Doing all of that and not getting a paycheck. And yeah, some of them do have savings, but at the end of the day, the morale is really dropping quickly when you see a zero paycheck coming in.
So that's a good point you make. Look, some of them do have savings. Nobody ever says that, wow, air traffic controllers are overpaid or you know, sort of at this upper echelon of earning. But, you know, they may have savings. But let's just talk about the degree to which this is a stressful job. You said it at the top. We have to be 100% of the time, right? There is zero room for error in the work of an air traffic controller.
That's exactly right. You know, and the thing is, we have many FAA safety employees that are staying home at this time because they're deemed non-essential or not accepted to come to work, and they play a very important role in the whole safety net of the national airspace system, and we want to get them back to work immediately. I mean, we've been working on some safety programs and equipment and procedures that we need to get back to work immediately so that we can actually implement these safety programs and enhance the safety of the United States airspace system.
So what does that mean in terms of everyone being able to get their job done? If the non-essential workers are being left home, who's actually doing their stuff?
The work is not getting done. We have actually seen, you know, we have a program which helps controllers determine if airplanes are lined up on the right runway or even a taxiway, because we do have a problem of wrong surface landings in this system, and we've implemented new equipment to make sure that we have the best equipment to make sure that those airplanes are safe and lining up on runways.
How is that non-essential?
Right. How is it
non-essential
that we know that a plane doesn't land on a taxiway as opposed to a runway? We've had a few close calls with this kind of thing, and every time there's a close call, someone says, had that happened, that would have been one of the worst tragedies we'd ever seen. A plane coming in to a taxiway where there are other planes. There are people who keep this from happening. I just don't even understand why this isn't essential, but how we contribute to people who are not getting paid for this kind of work. They need their full attention on that job. So you're saying stuff like that, that program just doesn't move forward for now?
Has stopped. That has stopped. And you're right. How is that not essential? I think every role, every safety professional in the FAA needs to come to work and continue to work on at their job to make sure we enhance the safety of the system and continue to run the safest, most efficient system in the world. But more importantly, they also need to get paid. They do a fantastic job, 100% of the time, with a zero paycheck that hit last night and this morning. It's unacceptable. We're tired of being pawns in a political battle in the middle of a tug of war, whatever the issue is, whether it's gun control, whether it's Planned Parenthood, whether it's health care, or now it's immigration. Knock it off. We run the safest, most efficient system in the world. Let us continue to work and do that job, and also pay us for the great job we do.
Well said, Paul. Thank you very much. And again, thanks to all your workers and the members of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association for keeping us safe on an ongoing basis. Paul Rinaldli is the president. These are not people we talk about.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Not people we talk about all the time, right? This is one of those things, and there are so many workers, the FDA, the inspectors, all sorts of people across America whose names you will never know, whose work you don't know of, whose job is to get it right 100% of the time, right? If an air traffic controller gets it wrong, the consequences are massive, but they don't get it wrong the vast majority of the time, and we don't get to thank them. We don't say it. So thank you.
This stinks.